Best Irish music on irishradio.org with Jerry Byrne.
Irish Radio. Now, at the start of the pandemic and all the rest of us, just over a year ago, I spoke to a lady who's been hard at work in the Irish community with the Irish Elderly Advice Network. And at that stage, one of the members of the choir and somebody very much involved in it had unfortunately passed away from COVID. But from that, this lady and the organisation has done some absolutely Trojan work in helping out the Irish community right across London and indeed in the surrounding area in the whole COVID times. I'm delighted to say hello to Nora Mulready. Nora, how are you?
I'm great, Jerry. Thanks for having me back.
A real pleasure. It's been quite a year, or just over a year at this stage.
It has been quite a year, yeah. An extremely challenging year. A year needing almost constant sort of innovation and creativity and energy to keep people going, to keep the organisation sort of doing the most useful and helpful work we could do. But yeah, it's been a hard year. Indeed
it has. It's been tough going. I mean, it was for your own selves. The loss of Alice was a huge blow, and that was just at the very start of it all.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So we started. We saw the full force of this very, very early on with our good friend Alice Kennedy, who died on the 1st of April from COVID, 1st of April last year. So, I mean, and that was a huge, huge shock within the older Irish community and the wider Irish community in London, as well as, of course, for her family. I mean, she was in great form, having a great time in her role as the chair of the Irish Elderly Advice Network and in the Irish Pensioners Choir. She was part of the East London Irish Pensioners Forum. She was involved in the Hackney Tea Dance. She was kind of doing so much. And yeah, she contracted COVID and passed away very, very quickly. So we began this period with a real shock. And yeah, I mean, in a way that kind of set the tone of how seriously we took this, and how seriously we understood it as a community from very early on.
Indeed. Now, you were, doing all the stuff, with the Irish elderly. It was a very much involved, personal, face-to-face situation, and then suddenly you're faced with a situation where this could not happen. So, how did you manage to deal with that, and work your way through it?
Okay. Well, it was early on. I think it was about the 10th of March when we as an organisation decided that, the pictures coming out from different countries that were further advanced with what was happening with COVID were just so terrible that, particularly for older people, that we made a decision to close down all face-to-face work. We closed the offices, we cancelled performances, we pulled out of the Mayor of London St Patrick's Day event that at that point was still going ahead. And we shut everything down. But of course, you can't shut down the work of an organisation, especially one supporting older people, right at the start of what was clearly going to be a very, very challenging and scary and dangerous time for older people, particularly. So we had to think, well, how are we going to do this? So probably the first thing that we did was printed out the entire mailing list of the Irish Elderly Advice Network. So that's around 6,000 people, and which included people's phone numbers. And then between our staff and trusted volunteers, we set about ringing every single person we had a phone number for. And that was an absolutely huge task. And, we had support from lots of fantastic people. We had support from Eilish Byrne from her music school. We had support from the Irish Embassy, who in people working in personal capacities volunteered and helped us do those calls, as well as all of the Irish elderly trustees, the choir. We really sort of got to work in contacting people, and the purpose of those phone calls was to say, we're here. This is our helpline number. Get in touch with us if you need anything. At that point we started to do the shopping and getting people's shopping lists, and then we had an army of volunteers going out across London delivering people's shopping to their doors, and prescriptions, and so from a practical basis, that was the sort of key bit of innovation that we did right at the start. And then we opened a helpline that at that point was open, I think, from about 9 until about 8 in the evening. So 9 in the morning till 8 in the evening, 7 days a week. And that again was for it, and that was just sort of ringing off the hook with people sort of looking for, advice, help, and actually. One of the things that, and it's all coming back to me now as I'm thinking about those early days, but one of the things that happened was people who, never usually asked for help, and in fact were often the people giving help to others, suddenly found themselves needing to get help from other people, needing to get help from us. So, you were talking about people who may be in their 80s who still do the shopping for someone else down the road. Actually, they were having to turn to us and say, look, I can't go out of my house. I live alone. I don't have family nearby who can help. Or if I do, they're also shielding or whatever. So people were kind of reaching out to us for help. And I think, it was a time of kind of real quick and quite significant readjustments for people. So yeah.
Indeed, it certainly was, and it's something that you managed to get, despite all the difficulties, you managed to get around and overcome so many difficulties. You were constantly sort of looking at ways to be, intuitive and show initiative and actually get new ways of actually interacting and keeping going.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the great things about the Irish Elderly Advice Network is that it is a very, very flexible organisation. So it's sort of inbuilt in the culture of the organisation that we can, come up with new ideas and just sort of make them happen. We've got a very, very supportive and flexible board of trustees. And if you go to them and you say, look, I think we need to do this, and this, and I think we need to do it today, generally speaking, they can kind of see the wheels move quite quickly within the organisation, which was very useful during this time. I mean, in terms of the other work as well, we went from having a sort of drop-in for people who needed welfare advice to not being able to do any face-to-face work, and so we had to move everything onto the phones. And we had absolutely brilliant caseworkers working throughout the pandemic, and really they've worked from home. They've got their computers, their phone, and they carried on, helping people to apply for disability benefits, helping people access their pensions, helping people deal with tricky issues with landlords, helping people to access, things relating to COVID, whatever it is. They kept it going, and really they've been amazing. I mean, the Barbara, Marion and Margaret, of course, they were there to help people throughout the whole time in the pandemic. They've just all been extraordinary. And actually, as we start to think about reopening, well, not think about, we have now a plan for reopening. I think returning to face-to-face work is going to be really lovely for all of the caseworkers, as well as for the people who they're working to support, and particularly the one that I'm really pleased we're able to reopen and it looks like we'll be reopening the first Wednesday in June, is Kilburn, where Margaret Geiger does an outreach service, where the Irish Elders have done that for years, about maybe 10 or 12 years down in Kilburn. And, Margaret would easily have sort of 26 people waiting for, dropping into her on a Wednesday. That's in the Mazenod Community Centre on Quex Road. And of course, we will have to change how that works, at least when we first start, because we won't be able to have people just dropping in and waiting. You can't. We're not going to have 26 people in a room now. But maybe we'll do an appointment system or something like that. We're going to sort of play that by ear, and again, that's the kind of flexibility of the organisation as well. We can do a bit of playing by ear, and of course, just the nature of the time. A lot of this is kind of trying it out and seeing what happens, and kind of making adjustments if we have to. But yeah, so Kilburn will be reopening in June, which is great. Our office in the London Irish Centre, the Murray Street side of the London Irish Centre, will be reopening from the week of the 17th of May. And so people will be able to have face-to-face appointments there again. And the office in St Thomas More, the Irish Elders Cultural Centre down in Hackney, that will also be reopening for face-to-face appointments fully from May the 17th.
Right, that's so it sounds positive. You're getting there, but also getting there cautiously.
Absolutely. I mean, we're really clear that we have to face the future with a sense of hope and a sense of optimism, but we also have to face it cautiously and safely. And I think it would be. It's certainly not the case that we're going to kind of be able to pick up where we left off before this happened. We're not going to be back with like packed halls and dances and all of this stuff, straight after June the 21st. We're going to take it slowly. We've got, for example, with our cultural programme, which is, which has been extensive. We've had Irish theatre, we've had Irish Elders Theatre, we've had the Irish Pensioners Choir, we've had concerts, we've had tea dances, we've had, trips, visits to historical sites. We've had a full cultural programme for many years. We are going to return to that, but we have to do it slowly, and we have to do it in a slightly different way. So, for example, we're now going to have an Irish Elders live traditional music session once a month in the Irish Elders Cultural Centre in Hackney, and we're having our first one of those at the end of May. And where we would love to have it just as a, come all. Actually, we're going to have we're starting with a maximum of 20 people, and we're asking people to book their space at that. And so like little adjustments like that, which, do slightly change the kind of easygoing, casual nature of it, but actually they're sensible and they're right, because we can't just be sort of flippant about the dangers. It's not going to completely go away overnight, but I think we can kind of reassure people that our approach to reopening and our approach to events and our approach to culture is going to be safe. It's going to be safe and it's going to be sensible, as well as being happy and great fun, we hope, but also sensible. So it's, that's our thinking at the moment.
Right, and if anybody wants to contact you about anything at all, they can catch up with you on the Irish Elders on Facebook, also your website.
Yeah, absolutely. And our phone number, the helpline number, is open every day, and that's, shall I give the number?
Yes, please do.
It's 0207 428 0471. So we're going to be publishing all of the different activities that we're doing on our website, on Facebook, in the next week or so. And we just ask people to kind of get involved. We're doing a Irish language coffee morning again. We're going to start that again. We're going to be starting a lot of things, and do get in touch and book your places. And over time, we will get there. We will get to back to some normality, and I can't wait. But then, of course, the other thing is that we're noticing is, it's funny when I reflect on the fact that we're talking basically a year since we first talked, Jerry. Back in that time, there was a huge amount of kind of almost adrenaline that was keeping people going, keeping us all kind of very motivated, and there was so much to do. We were kind of in an absolute crisis for the people, and we just had to rally. We're now over a year on. So much has happened. This has been the hardest year for so many people, including like myself. And, I think people are exhausted, people are kind of drained, and, there's a sort of different atmosphere now. It's been a very, very, very hard year. So I think there are many people who, for example, were very, very independent older people when all this happened, are now really almost slightly institutionalized in their houses after being at home for so long. People are nervous about going on public transport. People are nervous about walking. A lot of people, there's kind of a lot of deterioration has happened for people, and one of our focuses is going to be on helping people to kind of rebuild their confidence, just simply about being out and in company and moving and being out in the world again. So there's a lot, and I think the toll on people's mental health over the last year has been absolutely huge. And again, that's something that we're going to be really focusing on, and really the one of the central points on that is to try and provide for people kind of just lovely experiences, good company, nice music, and kind of the friendship that is really something we try and place at the heart of what we do at the Irish Elderly Advice Network.
Indeed. Listen, it sounds as though you've done one, in the most difficult of circumstances, you've done one heck of a job, and are still continuing indeed to do one heck of a job. And on you go, onwards and upwards and forwards with caution and with care, and back to some sort of normality. Nora, listen, well done on it all, to yourself and all the crew involved. It's been lovely to catch up with you again, lovely to chat with you, and listen, well done on everything.
Thanks, Jerry, and thanks for your support throughout the year. I know that you and what you've done with the radio has kept a huge number of people going every day, so thank you to you as well.